Welcome to Empty Nesters True Crime Podcast, where we explore chilling mysteries and dark secrets. With their nest now empty, Susan and Nancy have more time to uncover the truth and venture into the unknown. Let's step into the shadows together, shall we?
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us this week.
Hey Nancy, how are you?
Good. How was your week, Susan?
Busy.
As normal, right?
Yep, it's been really busy. And we got some rain, which was nice.
Yeah, we had some storms rolling yesterday. They were crazy, right? But we needed it, so.
Yeah, we sure do. And it cooled it off, so it's not like we're in a hot box anymore.
Yeah, so last time we were recording, we were telling them it was like 110, it felt like, so much better.
Yeah, what was it, like 82, 83 today?
Yeah, perfect.
I'd take it.
Susan, I had to tell you a funny story. So, yesterday I was on a call, let's just say it was like a work call, and I was talking to this lady, and she says something about me being from New York. And I said, how do you know I'm from New York? I've never said that. And she said, oh, I can tell by the way you talk. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She said, just how you say your words. Okay, so what did I say? She's like, when you talk, you drop your R's. Well, I busted out laughing because do you remember our producer called me out last week? Because he says that when I say frustrated, I say frustrated. But isn't it funny? I never knew that. I was laughing. I'm like, he did. He called me out for dropping my R's. Like, maybe is that a New York thing? I don't know. If you're from New York, let me know if you drop your R's too. But apparently I drop my R's when I speak.
I'm not from New York, so I have no idea.
Is there anything you say up in Ohio? Did we talk about that? Did you say anything funky that people pick up on?
I used to say, I don't even know if I can say it now, because I say wash the clothes, but it used to be wash the clothes.
My grandmother said wash.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she always said wash. Let's wash the clothes, wash the table, wash. I'm like, it's wash. Oh, that must be a northern thing. I don't know.
I don't do it anymore, though. Just like I don't say pop. It's soda.
Nope, so pop. So yeah, leave us in the comments any words that you may say particular to your area. It's kind of fun hearing different things. I'll jump into my story.
Where are we headed to today?
We are headed to New York City.
Oh, thanks, Nancy, because that's where I'm going next month.
Well, hence the drinks that we're going to have. We're having a apple margarita.
Ooh, because the Big Apple.
Because the Big Apple. Right.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed, the Big Apple.
You're
for Big Booty Land 25.
Oh, you're really going to New York City?
I really am going to New York City.
You have to take this recipe with you, Susan, and make everybody apple margaritas.
I was planning on going to the bars and have them make me the apple margaritas.
Oh, that's fun. Yep, that's where we're heading. We're going to head to New York City today. But first, we are starting out where she grew up. So today's story is about Corinna Slusser. She grew up in the small town of Bloomsburg, PA, where there is not a lot to do. Her mom, Sabina, describes her as very sensitive and emotional, but also very kind to people. She says Corinna has always been her own person. Her mom, Sabina, says she is definitely not country, which pretty much describes the town she grew up in. Sabina said her daughter was more into hair and makeup, and she recalls a time when they went on a trip to Boston, and Corinna, about 15 at the time, just loved the busy city, the shopping, the activities, all the city life has to offer. Sabina said she was a good kid growing up, got involved in sports, and even took a job at 16.
Have you been to Boston?
I haven't.
I've been to Boston quite a few times, which is surprising that I've never been to New York City until next month. But
You've never been to the city?
No, never.
Okay, this is crazy, Susan, but I am closer to New York City from here, North Carolina, than I was from my hometown. Isn't that weird? And I'm from New York, but I'm closer here.
That's crazy.
Where I was, it was about 12 hours, and I think we're about 10 car ride.
Yeah, I think it is like 10.
Isn't that
I don't
weird?
know, I'm flying, so.
Of course, Susan's bougie. She's flying, but
I'm not driving in the city.
Yeah, that is crazy. I remember when we drove, we did a little vacation, and we went to Maryland, Jersey. My kids are extra. They always have to do like 3 different states, but they were doing amusement parks, so we hit one in Maryland, Jersey, and then we wanted to spend the day in the city. Literally, as soon as we got there, we found a parking ramp because, you do not drive around the city.
No, but I'm excited. I mean, Boston's a beautiful city, so if you ever have the opportunity to go to Boston, you should. It's probably my most favorite city.
I'm Oh, very interesting. So maybe that's why little Corinna really loved the glitz and the glamour of Boston. So in September 2016, she began her senior year at Bloomsburg High School. Now decides to no longer participate in her previous activities of track or cheerleading, which she had been active in since she was like 8 years old. Her grades begin to decline, and she starts hanging out with a different crowd. Corinna loves to post on social media. In senior year, her posts start to change. They show a lot of partying. She and her mom start butting heads around this time as Corinna starts getting into some trouble, and her mom is worried. Corinna gets arrested for shoplifting at a local dollar store. She skips school frequently and is now drinking alcohol with her friends and smoking pot. So this is why her mom and her are having a lot of problems. Corinna is just being a rebellious teenager, and, mom and daughter are doing a lot of fighting. I'm sure this is kind of common when kids get to a point in their life and they start experiencing with different things and hanging out with different friends.
Yeah, but shoplifting.
Maybe a little over the top.
Yeah. Skipping school, smoking pot, drinking. Like, the whole combination of all of that together is not a good mix.
And kind of at once.
Right.
It was kind of sudden for her. In January 2017, Corinna does drop out of high school. And I think she was like a class short, so it's too bad. But she does enroll in an online charter school. However, she does not attend her online classes and ultimately, never received that high school diploma. In April of 2017, Corinna attempted suicide by taking 500 milligrams of Tylenol. Sabina is contacted at work to inform her that Corinna is in the emergency room, and it's serious. She had to be transferred to ICU. The doctors were really concerned because her liver was failing. But she does recover after about a week. And then following this, she spent a few days hospitalized in a psychiatric unit. And, they're not sure what happened leading up to that, but obviously it was pretty traumatic. In an interview with Missing, Sabina talks about some concerns with Corinna from when she comes home from the hospital. Now she's getting all new clothes and she has other items. And Corinna tells her mom they were from a friend. This is interesting because one of Corinna's friends does say that when she visited her in the hospital, she was texting a guy that was from New York. Soon after, she comes home with a huge tattoo. So, of course, her mom immediately inquires about who paid for it. I don't have any, Susan, but I know tattoos are not cheap. And she had a pretty big one right here in the middle of her chest. But she says, a friend.
Yeah, they're not cheap. I don't have any either, but my children do, and I know that they are not cheap.
So if you saw one come home and in high school with one, you knew she had to get money. He or she had to get money somewhere to pay for that. They're like hundreds of dollars, right?
Oh, they can be. Yeah. It can be. I know Ariel's, she's got the one on her shoulder, and I think that cost her about $800-900.
Gee, whew. Mm-hmm. That girl's got a lot of money in her.
I did not pay a dime. I told her, you want to do that? You on your own.
So I think the concern was where Corinna was getting the money for this. Kaylee, who was a close friend, tells a reporter in that same Missing interview that Corinna was on a site like Seeking.com to make money. Of course, I've never heard of this site, so I did a quick Google search and found that Seeking.com markets itself as a luxury dating site for successful and attractive singles. You can find singles who are interested in sugar dating. So next question, what is sugar dating?
I think I know what sugar dating is.
What is it? Go ahead.
Is it like getting you a sugar daddy?
Okay, so their description was, sugar dating is also known as sugaring. It's a transactional relationship between a wealthier older person and a younger person who is less financially stable in exchange for financial support and gifts. The younger person, also known as a sugar baby, provides romantic companionship or sexual intimacy. Sugar dating has become a cultural phenomenon in recent years, with advertising often appearing online through dating apps, websites, and paid advertisements.
You hear more and more of that happening. It's crazy.
I've never heard of sugar dating.
Because they would always be like, I'm going to give me a sugar daddy. And I'm like, the hell you are.
Well, you might want to be a little concerned the rest of the story where that takes her.
No,
but
she's not really getting it. She's just running her mouth because she's very good at that.
Due to all the fighting with her mom, at one point, Corinna was going to move in with her aunt. But then that changed when her aunt thought maybe this situation might be too much for her to handle. I think the rebellious stage was a little more at this point than she could handle. Come June, Corinna told her mom she was moving with a friend to Hazleton, PA. Corinna is ready to be independent. She got a job at a local restaurant. Sabina said the place she was going to be living in was not in a good area, had a lot of drugs and crime. However, she doesn't stay long. The friend ends up kicking Corinna out after they have a bad fight. So Corinna ends up just leaving, literally leaving everything behind, even all her clothes. The roommate said Corinna owed her money, so she was keeping her stuff. Corinna called some guy to get her, and he made comments that he'd just buy her all new stuff. Who the guy is she called it's unknown. A friend just said it was a guy she met online. So
probably one of them sugar daddies.
Or that same guy she was texting in New York. I'm not sure. Corinna shared a picture on social media of her living in a studio apartment in the Bronx. Her mom, who follows her account, now realizes that Corinna wasn't staying with a friend anymore, but was actually living in New York City. Of course, her mom immediately texting her, telling her to come home. I think her mom said on an interview, she said, "Get your butt home." But, I mean, that's kind of a scary way to find out your kid's moving to New York City. But Corinna's 18.
Yep, not much you can do about that.
Not a lot she can do, yet. Sabina, of course, tries to talk to her, but Corinna says she's fine. She tells her she has an administrative job, but her mom knows it's not cheap to live in New York, and she suspects that she's doing other things to earn money. I think she thought maybe stripping or dancing. She can see her daughter is making a lot of late night calls, so I'm guessing she's seeing her phone records, like maybe she's still paying that phone bill. It seems but through the month of August, Sabina keeps in constant contact with her daughter, but she has no idea the danger that her daughter has gotten herself into. Within a week of moving to New York City, she entered into a relationship with a man named Giovanni Pagero, who has a long criminal history and has been in and out of prison since the age of 19. He had been involved in burglary, robbery, sex trafficking, promoting prostitution, assault, harassment, criminal mischief, possessing and selling drugs, and resisting arrest and disorder conduct.
How old is he right when they get together?
He's, I think, 30. Yeah, he's 32. He's older.
He's done a lot.
Yep.
In those 10, 12 years.
Yep. However, he's also involved in human trafficking and began exploiting her in the sex trade. Sexual ads start popping up on social media under the name Carissa on escort websites and promoting prostitution. Around the end of August, an order of protection was sent to Sabina's house. Corinna was listed as the victim, and Giovanni was not permitted to have contact with Corinna. The document was dated from August 29th, so this is how Sabina finds out that Corinna had been assaulted. Apparently, Giovanni allegedly stole $300 from Corinna when she was in the shower at the Harlem Vista Hotel in Sugar Hill. Giovanni is the man they believe she met and was talking to while she was in the hospital at the time of that overdose, and who is now acting as her pimp. Corinna allegedly confronted him about the stolen money. This confrontation led to a physical altercation during which he grabbed her by the neck, slammed her against the wall, making it difficult for her to breathe. The police were called and found Corinna very upset. She was taken to the hospital, and I thought it was weird that at the hospital, Corinna told the staff that Giovanni was her daddy. I learned that calling someone your daddy is popular amongst sex workers or sex trafficking victims to call their pimps that. He was arrested for assault and obstruction of breathing. The judge ordered a 6-month order of protection and stated he is not allowed communication with Corinna, and that indicates any communication, even text, email, and social media. He was able to post bond and was released, but Corinna tells her mom she's okay, not to worry. Early September, Corinna now meets Ishiwoni. How they meet seems to be unknown. I've heard a few different things, but he is 21 years old and an aspiring rapper. He now begins trafficking Corinna. He is also exploiting another young victim, and we're just going to call her Victim 1. That's how she's referred to in the court documents. Some, you'll hear them call her Jessica Wabbit. That's probably a name she's going by, but I'm not sure what her real name. She must be underage because they just refer to her as Victim 1. There are all kinds of sexual ads placed for the girls promoting prostitution. These ads appear on different escort websites, and one of them even says a 2-girl special. And the ads come from her phone, his phone, the other girl's phone, but I'm sure the pimps are the one placing all that stuff. But on September 3rd, Corinna messages Giovanni through Facebook Messenger. The message says, "Hi, how are you? Are you okay?" Then a few days later, he responds back through Facebook Messenger, which, remember that order of protection, he's not really supposed to, but it says, "Hi, how are you? Are you all right? And I miss you." Just a few days later, Corinna posts on social media about her very own apartment in New York City. The post shows a 1-bedroom, 1-bath in the Bronx for $750. The post read, "My first apartment, all to myself in New York City. Never been happier in my life. Forever dream accomplished." But a few days later, on September 10th, she posts for the last time on Instagram. It's a person smoking what looks like a blunt. Caption, "Siphon midday, mid-road is always good for the soul." It says the picture is in the Bronx. I'm not sure who's in the picture. I don't even think it actually looks like her, and it actually hasn't been confirmed. Susan, I sent you some of these pictures. First of all, I want you to look at Corinna. I mean, she's a gorgeous blonde with these sparkling blue eyes. And then you'll see the picture that she posted last. It's like a side profile of a girl smoking. Again, it appeared to be a blunt, but I'm not sure if it looks like the same person. Do you see? It's like a darker complexion girl.
It does, but it also, if you look at her hair looks black, not blonde.
But that's the very last picture posted, and you can see it on her social media. It's an open account.
She is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and all her pictures, her other Instagram pictures, she's posing, and that's kind of her thing. But this one's completely different. September 20th, Ishi moves Corinna to another hotel, the Haven Motel on Woodhaven Boulevard in Rego Park, Queens.
Out of her apartment?
I don't know if she ever really was in that apartment, because now we're already, She was, staying with Ishi, so he moves her into this hotel, which is not in a good area. The area is very well known for drug activity and prostitution. According to an article on Uncovered, the room that she was in had been paid for by a man, but not Ishi. So there's speculations that he had given her to another man because there was believed to be a falling out between Victim 1, aka Jessica Wabbit, and Corinna. Victim 1 believed that Ishi was her boyfriend and became upset, refusing to work until he got rid of Corinna. So that's what they think led him taking her here. Corinna calls her mom saying she wants to come home. Sabina informs her that her father passed, which, is Corinna's grandfather, and she will be leaving to go to Florida. Corinna mentions she will try to take a train to Florida. She says she can't fly because she doesn't have any ID. She doesn't have her driver's license or social security card, claiming they were stolen. But I read that this is another very common thing for sex trafficking victims is not to have their own identification, that somebody else is holding it. It makes it harder for them to leave. This is when her mom realizes things are not great and she may have gotten in over her head. And maybe Corinna's not sure how to get out of this situation. At the same time, Corinna sends a message over Facebook to Bonnie again, asking, it says, "Answer, please," then tells him that she was left at a motel with no money and no food. He does try to call her back through Facebook Messenger, but she doesn't answer. This was the last message that happened between the two of them. And remember that friend from back home, Kaylee, one from Pennsylvania? Well, also the same day, Corinna left her a voicemail, and Kaylee said she sounds really frantic, and the message didn't make any sense. So this is all happening at the same time, and I heard the message, and I can't figure what she was talking about either, but clearly something is going on. She called her mom to come home. She's trying to message Giovanni, calling, her friend. Somebody reported seeing Corinna leaving that motel on this day, but after September 20th, unfortunately, there has never been another confirmed sighting of her. We will later come to find out that Haven Motel, unfortunately, had no functioning surveillance cameras, so we don't know if she left with somebody, left on her own, but that's the last confirmed sighting. Several days later, Ishi tries to call Corinna using Facebook Messenger, but she doesn't answer. Sabina says she is now no longer to get a hold of her daughter. The calls are just going straight to her voicemail, and she's not responding to any text. She reaches out to some of Corinna's friends, and they have not heard from her either. When Sabina gets back from Florida, she files a missing person report with the Montour Township Police, the local department in Bloomsburg, PA. Montour Township Police contacts the Manhattan District Office regarding Corinna's case and the order of protection she had against Giovanni. According to the Montour Township report, the Manhattan DA's office expresses concern that given Giovanni's background, he might be holding Corinna against her will and forcing her into prostitution for money. Sabina decides to head to New York City herself. She does a lot of searching around and ends up at a precinct, and after telling them her daughter's story, they say they know Giovanni. They actually go and talk to him, but he gives them no information. And this time he said he had not seen her since that protection order. October 29th, Ishi Woni messages Corinna over Facebook. Again, he says, "Hey, I miss you. Can you just hit me up and let me know you're okay?" So I'm kind of guessing with these messages that she is not with him, but in November, Sabina takes the story to the media and plasters Corinna pictures everywhere. I think you have one of those missing ads, Susan. Mm-hmm. Lots of tips come in, but nothing pans out. But here's something a bit weird. About 3 months or so after she's missing, her Facebook account is liking posts. And some of the posts are about her, the sites that people have on Facebook, like she's liking them. But somebody has been, whether it's her or somebody that logged in as her. Her friend Kaylee said that they could even see her opening Snapchats. So again, if it's not her, somebody has access to her social media. In the spring of 2018, the FBI will now come into the investigation. They go to the mother's house and gather her DNA, even taking a cheap swab with Sabina. They informed Sabina that they did have the location of the last time Corinna's phone pinged, and that was in Jamaica, Queens, which also happened to be a location that somebody did report seeing her, but I'm not actually sure the time frame of that. But Susan, this is really interesting. Her mother received a message from someone claiming they had Sabina. Susan, this is really interesting. Her mom received a message from someone claiming they had Corinna captive and would only release her for $7,500. They said she was being kept in a locked room and injected with drugs. The man instructed Sabina to meet him in person with cash at a location in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is not far from Susan and I, by the way. But Sabina's mom decides not to go. The next day, she receives a text saying, "Remember this day, April 17th, Tuesday, 2018, because it's a day you almost got her and you will never see her again." From Pennsylvania to Greensboro, I think she was, about 8 hours maybe? But that's a long car ride, and she had gotten so many, tips and, all this kind of weird stuff that it probably wasn't really, they didn't probably really have it.
A lot of that you hear in the stories, and it's just fake.
Yeah. And it's sad that people do that. But
yeah, especially when you have a loved one missing and you're devastated. Let's just add to the pain.
Yeah. And everybody trying to extort money or whatever. But police do end up arresting Ishi in a New Jersey hotel for possession of drugs and assaulting a woman. This is also when police discover September 10th through September 20th, Ishi and Corinna exchange 803 text messages. Police do charge him with sex trafficking, Corinna. He was sentenced 15 years in prison for sex trafficking of a minor. He did face a life sentence, but the judge considered his mental health issues, which include bipolar and schizophrenia, so he just got 15 years. So, side note, use mental health. You'll get off of things easier.
Just say you're crazy.
Yeah. I mean, sex trafficking, we'll get into that later, but it's scary. At his sentencing, though, Sabina shows up. She asks Ishi, "Please disclose where my daughter is. Is she dead or alive? Tell me what you know." He does stand up, turns and faces her, and says, "I don't know where your daughter is. I don't know if she's dead or alive, but I'm praying that she is." In 2020, Sabina confronts Giovanni in a hallway at a courthouse. He says he doesn't know where she is, but he feels she is alive, just living her life in New York City. And at this time, he also says the whole hotel thing, with this, where he put his hands on her, that never happened, but I'm not saying I believe him.
I don't believe him.
And I'm not sure if I don't know if he does or doesn't know where she is. But we do know she had been trying to contact him. And there were some other messages that were found where she was asking to go back. And, of course, he's telling her he'll take her back. But remember, you have to follow the plan where, you work for him, but give him all your money. That's how pimps work. They take all the money and just give the girls enough for, food, clothing, shelter. But again, we don't know if she ended up back with him. Giovanni is sentenced to 2 to 5 years in the New York State prison system on drug and prostitution charges. The case is pretty much stalled at this point for Corinna, but her mom still holds hope that her daughter is alive and is desperately seeking people to help. After a year, after she disappeared, there was an Instagram post. And Susan, look at that one. It's going to be a post with her and a gentleman, and he's kind of got his arm around her.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you notice? In this picture, so this picture was supposed to be about a year, it was put out on social media. They're not sure if somebody did it just to kind of, taunt or what, but she's obviously much thinner. Her hair is darker. Her eyes, they don't even look the same color. They look dark there and not those blue sparkling eyes. Her mom said when she saw that photo, she about fell over. It just doesn't look like her.
Yeah, I thought when I looked at the photos that didn't look like her.
But the only thing I noticed, look at the ends of her hair. Do they look green? Because that one picture on social media where she has the green ends, that was from years ago. So it's kind of confusing. Was that picture really that old? I don't know. There's a lot of mystery behind that picture, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but definitely doesn't look like her. If it is her, she's much thinner. And Corinna did desire a faster, more exciting life. And her family believes she met somebody who promised her just that. This is how sex trafficking often begins. People meet someone who lures them with enticing promises of money and excitement. Human trafficking experts speculate that Ishi may have handed Corinna off to another pimp, or that Corinna might have returned to Giovanni. There was even suspicion that Corinna was abducted, or I hate to say this, but possibly murdered after she tried to leave home. Remember that day when she was calling her mom and wanting to leave? But again, that's the last time that they hear from her. So, but again, all speculations, whether, if she did hand her off to another pimp at that hotel that day, or she did go back to Giovanni. Again, unfortunately, her story kind of stalls here. But according to the ILO, International Labor Organization, 48 million people are trafficked for forced sexual exploitation worldwide, including 3.8 million adults. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime say that sex trafficking is the fastest growing crime in the world. The Delivery Fund org estimates that 15,000 to 50,000 women and children are forced into sexual slavery in the United States each year. That sex trafficking is the most common type of trafficking in the U.S. And then human trafficking, they target children who are vulnerable, such as those who may have experienced abuse, neglect, or are involved in the child welfare or juvenile system. They could be homeless or even runaways, but human trafficking may also target people who are financially vulnerable, such as those living in poverty, unemployment, again, homeless. They may also prey on people who are hoping for a better life or have a history of sexual or physical abuse. I read how, they pretend to be their boyfriends and offer them this glamorous life. And I think that's what happened to her. It was something that she was going to go to New York City and, the whole hair and makeup came into play. But then the trafficker or the pimp will say, well, to get some money, just do these things and then we'll get our money and we'll be, we can have this life. But that's how they get into it. And they say that's how they kind of trap them into this. Here are some things, that you can do. You're supposed to really watch who your children are speaking to online. watch their social media. We're not saying spy on your kids, but
yes, we are. Spy.
Okay, yeah, I'm a helicopter mom, so yes.
Spy on them.
But, really know who they're speaking with, because this, may have been somebody that you had met on one of these sites, and, But one of the things I thought was interesting is I always think of sex trafficking as, they just kidnap kids off the street, but that's a myth. Victims are often either trafficked by a family member, friend, or someone they met online. It's not just kids being snatched. But yeah, and they also say that, to warn young women about the posts they're putting out there on social media of themselves. Some of these provocative posts.
I know.
I'm not saying it, but some of these provocative posts, unfortunately, get the wrong people. They see them, they see, and then they can use those photos too, unfortunately. There was a case, and it's not this case, but where some, girl was dating this guy, and he kept posting her pictures out there, and and then he took over her social media, and again, all these pictures are on there, and she begged for him because he was making money off of her, her pictures, and she was begging, please take them down, and the mom even tried to get with Instagram or to say my daughter does not give permission for these. And there's nothing you can do. And, this is a sad one because the young lady did commit suicide over it, So, but it's...
Yep, when you put it out there, it's out there.
And anybody can have it.
I have this conversation with one of my children all the time. But...
Well, she's 22, 23?
She's 22.
She's 22.
She's a power lifter. It's what it is. I mean, that's... the moneymaker, those muscles.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think they're more thinking of vulnerable girls. I'm not sure we would put Ariel in that category. She'd take them down.
No, she'd whip their ass.
Yeah, but that is, I mean.
And, she's just.
Well, also the problem is that they take these pictures and you don't know what they're going to do with them.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've heard stories when our kids were in school was like, oh, somebody's nudes got out, or so-and-so's nudes got out because they shared them with someone who was their boyfriend. They'd break up, and then then they just share it, whatever. That was a private moment between the two of them, and then it became everybody's moment.
See, this is scary because, we didn't grow up with cell phones, and we didn't grow up with stuff like this, but, the stuff that these kids do nowadays, I always told my kids, you take a picture and you put it online, everybody has it, even if you delete it within seconds. Look at that. I mean, they do that all the time. When somebody posts something, boom, it's taken. It's never gone. It's always somewhere. So, so today, Corinna would be about 25. Yeah, she'd be about 25. She's 5'7". Well, at the time of the disappearance, was estimated about 140 pounds. She's got blonde hair, or at least she did. It could be darkened. Beautiful sparkling blue eyes, and remember she has that tattoo in the middle of her chest, and they do believe she's in the Bronx area. I was going through Facebook on different sites for her, but there's really nothing.
So what do? Just hide her in a hotel and let men come and use her?
Yeah, I mean there are reports. I saw a report that somebody in Texas, they think she was trafficked in down there, but that's what sex traffickers do.
Yeah,
they get these girls, and sometimes they. Of course, we all know the stories where they'll get them addicted to drugs and they use that, I know it happens. I just have a hard time wrapping my head around that whole thing. Like, who goes and pays for that? But I know people do, but I'm like, who are you? What is wrong with you? Yeah,
You're
if we didn't have the clientele,
individual.
They didn't have that clientele, they wouldn't have, and again, the course, some thoughts is, did she get too far? And now she's worried about coming home. But her mom and aunt and everybody's out there saying, come home. And I saw on social media people put to Corinna to please come home. And, you can be an advocate now for others. Like, there's so much you can do with your life. Your life isn't over because you made poor choices in, getting there. But then it escalated,
Right.
Nobody would ever think you'd be in this situation.
We all make poor choices at times.
Right.
Some people make bigger poor choices, but then they can come back and do something really good with it.
You can always come back from your choices. And obviously her choice was not to get to where she is right now, but you can always come back from it. And, if she's still out there, come back and be an advocate for other children, help other people through this. I mean, she probably has more wealth and knowledge right now than anybody could imagine. So we hope Corinna is safe, and we pray. And, even for her mom, Sabina, because, imagine not knowing where your child is. You don't know.
Or just come back and let your family love you.
Yes, absolutely, Corinna.
The rest of it will fall into place.
Thanks for joining us on Empty Nesters True Crime Podcast, where we've delved into chilling mysteries and dark secrets. With their nest now empty, Susan and Nancy will keep uncovering the truth and venturing into the unknown. Until next time, stay safe and step into the shadows with us again.